Hi everybody, hope you're well, hope you're fantastic. My name is Gavin Mkabela. Now welcome to another episode of GavSure TV under the real estate feature. Now today we're going to be talking about the essentials of buying property for the first time. So if you are a first time property buyer or you're thinking about it, now this episode is absolutely for you. So now there are three things that I'm going to be touching on today, so that at least it gives you some kind of a perspective around what you need to be looking out for and what you need to do when you are buying your property for the first time. Now we're still going to have other mini episodes around this feature because there's just so many things to discuss, but for today I wanted to just give you these three. Hopefully they will assist you in your buying journey. Now number one, when you're buying property for the first time, I normally say the first aspect of it is to understand the why. Why do you want to buy this property? Now there's two parts to this question that is very, very important. Now, are you buying this property for you to live in this property, or you're buying this property for investment purposes? Now, what is the difference? Now, when you're buying a property to live in, normally I call it an emotional buy. And why is that? Because it's about you. Remember that you're going to be living in this property, so it has to really, you need to feel it, basically. I remember somebody says, I bought my property. For the first time I stepped into that house, I knew it was mine. It was as if it was made for me. So it's an emotional thing. You'll find out, the final buying decision really is from an emotional perspective. So that's from a primary point of view. And then when we look at investments, this is where now you're not going to live in this property. So basically, you are buying this property for business. You're going to rent it out, you're going to generate income, and that's technically it. So when you look at now the buying process, I normally say that you need to be very, very careful. So remember I said the one is emotional, and then the other one shouldn't be about emotions. Because at times I find people, they want to start investing. They're buying this property for investment purposes, and yet somebody will say, Gav, but I don't like the tiles. I don't like the roof. I don't like, the windows. The size is too small. But now the question is, are you going to live in this property? No, you're not going to live in this property. So it has to be from a business perspective. Whereas even from a primary point of view, it's emotional, but I always say that please also make sure that you have that element of business inside of there, because what normally happens is that you might be buying this property and your family is big, but what happens when your kids grow up and they now move up and then they go to tertiary and you're left with this big house, and maybe you want to sell it, but you're not going to get the value because you didn't buy it from that angle of understanding the economical side of things, right? So, but always ask yourself when you are buying property for the first time, am I buying this property because I want to live in it, or I'm buying this property because I want to use it for investment? Now, can you get both in one? Yes, of course you can. At times there are people that will say, Gavin, I want to buy maybe this property and I want to rent out, the green flat at the back, so that the person or the tenant will then help me to then service my bond. And that is fantastic, especially in this type of economy. You can do that, right? So that is why it's also very important to have guidance when you are now able to do all of these things. So that's number one. Understand the why. Why are you buying this property? Number two is the what. What kind of property am I going to buy? Why is this very important? Especially when it comes to the cost element of things, because there are two main drivers of types of properties. Number one is buying a sectional title or buying a standalone house. All right. So what's the difference? So a sectional title most of the time is when you are buying into a community. Right? So for example, there are these apartments that you see. So normally when the apartments, what do you get? You get, there is a main gate. You find that there's a security guard there. You find that there's a clubhouse, so technically you are buying a unit within this development. So you're going to be sharing the space with all the other people, right? So yes, you are the owner of that unit. However, there are common areas that you now need to share with others as well. So now when we look at, for example, security guards, those people need to be paid, right? They need a salary. So where does that money come from? It comes from the levies. So one of the biggest differentiator between a standalone house, which is not in a gated community, is the levies. So over and above the rates that you pay over, for your municipal bill, because remember that there are street lights, there are, there is, the garbage that that needs to be removed by the state. So all of that needs money. So, they're going to charge you a municipal, rate. So we call rates and taxes. But within the sectional title part of things, then you then get the levy. So the levies are the ones that pays for the security. Technically it pays for the upkeep of that development. And you as the owner, part of this group of owners within that development, you guys now share the responsibility from a financial point of view. So meaning that every month I need to pay my levies, and those levies basically go towards the upkeep of the development. The grass needs to be cut. From time to time, the development needs to be repainted. That money comes from the levies. And that is very crucial, guys, to know, especially when you're doing your numbers. When you're about to buy, make sure that when it's a sectional title, you make provision for that. So within the levies, it also covers the insurance. So the property insurance is covered within the levies most of the time. So please also make sure that when you buy into a sectional title scheme, you ask for financials, right? See that the complex is run, properly. They don't owe anything. All these kind of things are very important on that basis. So that will be sectional title, and then standalone, of course, it's just rates that you pay. But when it comes to insurance, you will now need to pay, for yourself in terms of the property insurance. And then the other cost around insurance is the life cover, especially if you're going to be financing that property using the bank. Please understand that it's still debt. So what you want with the life cover is that should I pass away, that my property will be paid up, so through that life cover, so that that at least my family won't have to worry about the cost of now maintaining this house, but most importantly, they now have an asset that they can then be able to use. So that's very important. But as I said, some of those coming episodes, we're gonna break it down a little bit more, so don't worry about that. And then the last one is basically where am I gonna buy this property? Now in real estate, we always say location. It's absolutely critical to understand that location plays a role. And why is that the case is that you want to make sure that the property that you want to buy, well, the area that you want to buy in, it's a good area. It has good schools if you're a family person. It has amenities that are great, and there is economic activity that is good within that area, because it's gonna play a factor when one day you wanna sell the property, maybe you want to rent out. It's also a factor. So either way, whether you're buying the property from a primary perspective or from an investment point of view, you want to make sure that you're buying in a good area, so that you can then get a value for money. But again, that over time this property can appreciate in value, right? So those are the three important things that I wanted to cover today, which is the why, the what, and the where, which is the location. Now please be please tune in as we'll be loading more episodes, so that you can get more insights in terms of what you should be doing around the real estate side of the business. Now with that said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and please don't forget to press on the subscribe button and the notification, so that you can be made aware of the new videos. Gavin Mkabela, I am signing out, and I'm gonna see you on the flip side.